Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about literature and homeschooling. Now, I was homeschooled. My mom took me out of public school just as I was going into second grade, and the only reason she did was because we had moved into a new school system from a very good school system into a very, very bad school system. And she felt like she just really had no choice. I was 8 years old. I couldn't tell time. I couldn't do any kind of math. And I couldn't read. And so when I was 7, she took me out. And I have 6 younger brothers and sisters. All of us were homeschooled, except for the last 2. They were put back into school in first grade, I think. But the point of what I wanted to talk about today was this. A lot of people take their kids out of public school and put them in homeschool and become very hyper-focused about academics as far as comparing them to public school children and public school systems. And I was raised that way. My parents were they had been public schooled, and so they looked at this as something to compare to public school. And because of that, anytime that we were working on something that can be considered constructive or educational in any way, we were not to be interrupted, because that was the most important thing we could be doing. And because of that, once we started to read, one of the ways that my mom got us to read was that if we were reading a novel that we liked or something, she wouldn't interrupt us. We didn't have to do chores, because she really wanted us to love reading and be really gung-ho about learning how to read and just being involved in that. And what ended up happening, and I see that in homeschool families all the time, is that reading became a replacement for living. That as long as you were reading, you were doing the best, the most ultimate, fantastic thing you could possibly be doing. And as a child that was raised that way, I can say that there were so many wasted hours where instead of developing my own character and developing my own life, I was lost and immersed in the life of whoever I was reading about. And so I had this sense of angst and longing to be this worthwhile person and to be doing these worthwhile things. And yet the only thing I was doing was absorbing more and more adventures and more longing about a world that wasn't in my life what I wanted it to be. And instead of putting the book down and going and creating the life that I wanted, I just sat there and felt depressed and sad and lonely about the fact that I wasn't surrounded by these things that I was reading about. And this really came home to me when I think I was 17 or 18, and my dad came into my bedroom one day, and I was sitting in there reading a Christian novel. You know, it was a Christian novel. It was a Christian romance novel and everything. And so there was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't like I was reading smut or even magic. And my dad looked at me and with infinite wisdom said, "You know, honey, I don't understand why you read so much of these books that never teach you anything. Why are you filling your head with all of these things and these thoughts that don't add to your own character, that don't teach you how to go out and do something with your life?" And I get a little bit teary when I think about him saying that and his wisdom, because so many parents, I don't think, make that leap and say, okay, so you know how to read. The point of knowing how to read is to be able to educate yourself. That is the whole point of reading. It's not to entertain yourself. It's not to keep you from doing other destructive things. That's not the point of reading. The point of reading is to absorb knowledge that then you go do something with. And I know that sounds horrible to some people. Some people love to read novels, and I would have to classify myself as one of those people, at least in my younger life. But I have come to the point now where if I'm going to read a novel, it will be on an audiobook, because I need to be able to be doing something creative with my life. Otherwise, I wake up from having been reading a book. I say that literally, because you're sitting there zoned out in front of a book in this other world. So I wake up from having been in this book to find that my dishes aren't done, my spinning isn't done, my hair looks a mess, I haven't done my animal chores, and I have let my family down. that you're supposed to be giving them something better, a higher standard than what you're giving them, what they would get in a public school. And even though the books that you're giving them are better, they're no replacement for personal experience in life. You want them to turn 18 and go out on their own, having had some real work, some real mental aerobics having gone on, where they chose things that they love to do and they went and did them, and they were able to get things done on a daily basis without always turning around and needing to be entertained when mom's not telling them what to do. And I think that that is the real strength the homeschool has, is that you can turn these children from someone that has to always be entertained into someone that always is self-aware and looking around and saying, this is what I want to learn how to do. These are the things that are important to me, the things that I want to develop in my life. This is what I want to do with my life. And have them be self-aware and self-reliant before they leave your home, with a core of iron in their soul that is their morality, their honesty, their integrity, everything that is their character having been built because they've lived in the time that they've been in your home instead of schoolers. Because it always happens is that, not always, but about 90% of the time I see teenagers given books and being praised for being great readers, but not being praised for being great livers, because they're not being great livers. If they go to soccer practice or orchestra or something like that, they are living their lives. But when it comes to their home life, rather than looking around and saying, I have a bed that's unmade, or looking around and saying, I could learn a skill, I could learn how to do all of these amazing things and spend my time doing that when I'm not in school and when I'm not doing chores, I could really develop myself and be whatever I ever want to be, and do it before I go to college. There's so many business opportunities out there and so many development opportunities out there that are free because we now have the internet. And I believe that the younger children grab onto that, the less time and money they have to spend trying to figure out what major they want if they go to college, or waiting until they're 18 and 19 to start a business. Why not start a business when you're 12 if you're good at what you do? I know kids that do that. I met a little boy the other day who was, I think he was 10, and he raises rabbits and then sells the rabbit skins to Canada to be tanned, and then makes money that way. And I have some neighbors down the street that they raise rabbits and goats and sell goat's milk and raise their rabbits to sell them and to eat them, and that they're really skilled. And it's not that it's not okay to have downtime. It's fantastic to have downtime and let your hair down and everything. But the trend is to spend as many hours a day reading fiction as possible and being praised for it because you're reading. Okay, so you're reading. If you start when you're 8 and you know what you love to do with life, and you've worked with your hands and you've worked with your mind and you haven't been immersed in entertainment, you can start your life when you're 8 instead of starting your life when you're 21 and you just graduated from college with $30,000 to $75,000 in student debt, only to go and then buy a $150,000 home and get into debt there as well. Wouldn't it be nice to have a nest egg by the time you turn 18, to be able to pay cash for your college because you did something with your life, did something with your teens, and you already know what you want to do? So, again, ranting. I love you guys. We'll talk to you later.